Abomination Vaults. Chapter 7 Soul Keepers. Content warning. While Abomination Vaults contains typical Pathfinder action and adventure, it also presents themes of suicide, ableism, body horror, and human experimentation. Before you begin, understand that player consent, including that of the Game Master, is vital to a safe and fun play experience for everyone. You should talk with your players before beginning and modify descriptions or scenarios as appropriate. Chapter 7 Synopsis. Long ago, Belcora handed over the prison level to the contract devil Urevain and his infernal minions. They now prepare diligently to invade the surface, and the level is on reasonably high alert. The heroes must fight their way through the devils and fleshwarp minions. They might find some surprising allies, including an imprisoned bounty hunter and an imp named Zek who's eager to make a deal. Here the heroes can also put to an end the malevolent creature tormenting Doriana Menhemes. When the heroes finally meet Urevain, he extends an offer wrapped in a difficult moral choice. Environmental cues, stench of brimstone, eerie silence, flickering flames, smoke, cell doors, infernal runes carved on surfaces. Urevain has been spying on Carman and thus knows a little about the heroes. You can play up the ominous atmosphere by having some of the heroes' opponents call them by their names, or predict their general tactics, particularly anything they've used or discussed around Carman. Chapter 7 Treasure. The permanent and consumable items available as treasure in Chapter 7 are as follows: a +1 flaming striking Hellforge glaive, a +1 striking composite longbow, a +1 striking kukri, a +1 striking warhammer, a +1 temchal chakaram, a bag of holding type 2, braces of armor type 1, drover's band, gallows tooth, grim trophy, moderate alchemist fire, scroll of dream message, spell strike arrow 3rd level, standard explosive arrow, transparent elemental gem, young red dragon's breath potion. 5 centuries ago, Belcora summoned the contract devil Urevain to administer her Abomination Vaults. Always looking to sweeten the deal, Urevain further offered to train Belcora's armies and lead her invasion of Absalom, for a price. Urevain knew that Volrajani, legendary Roseguard swordswoman and exiled royalty from Nidal, lived in Absalom. The Rajani family has, for reasons even Urevain doesn't know, a special value to certain parties in Hell. In exchange for Urevain's aid, Belcora guaranteed him Rajani's soul. When the Roseguard attacked Gauntlight, bringing the soul right to Belcora's doorstep, Urevain was in Hell, committing Rajani's soul to a much more powerful entity, even though he didn't yet have it. By the time he returned, the Roseguard had prevailed with Belcora slain. The sorcerer couldn't fulfill her end of the bargain, trapping Urevain in the interminable process of preparing a surface invasion that would gain him nothing. Worse, he didn't dare return to Hell without Rajani's soul, and his agreement forbid him from capturing the soul directly or through his infernal proxies. Belcora was intended to deliver it. Urevain was trapped. Now that Belcora has returned, Urevain's agreement with her can be fulfilled. He plans to train her armies and invade the surface, starting with Atari. His spying has informed him that Carman Rajani, whose soul can also fulfill his contract, lives there. Urevain has fully mobilized his devils to train the fleshwarps who have come to his realm. Belcora placed several horrible monsters in stasis, though Urevain doesn't yet know how to reliably free them, and has made that discovery his next priority. Although the devils can use Dimension Door to reach the surface quickly, Urevain's other troops need physical access, which required him to approach the Sagathi Jafaki about allowing him through the laboratories. Jafaki feared another diabolic ruse, a reasonable assumption given the Sagathi's past relations with Urevain, and agreed on one condition: Urevain must allow the Sagathis to personally inspect all infernal forces and make upgrades and improvements. Urevain knew this ploy was for Jafaki to get their tentacles on endless research subjects, and that the Flesh Warper would never sign off on any troops. Urevain is ready to wash his hands of the entire arrangement, but alas, he has a contract. Urevain sees the heroes as an unexpected opportunity and a potential solution. If the heroes slaughter their way through Jafaki and the Sagathis, then all the better for the devil. Urevain has ordered his devils to keep an eye out for the heroes, to kill all but one or two, and bring him the survivors for negotiations. He plans to convince the remaining heroes to deliver Carman Rajani to him, otherwise he'll march his army through the dungeon and destroy Atari. Urevain's devils have had little contact with the Abomination Vaults' lower levels, even in less troubled times. He receives food from the farm levels below to feed his mortal soldiers, but cares little for the denizens there or their machinations. Since Belcora's return, Urevain has seen an increase in Erdefans, Drow, and more parading through the prison level, and he has had enough. He recently blocked the stairs leading down to the lower level with rubble in Area G1, and erected a magical barrier across the large elevator opening in Area G3. Urevain knows that his control over these barriers probably gives him some leverage with the heroes too, which further benefits him. He needs them to be his hands on the surface. Prison features. Ceilings are 20 feet high throughout the prison, which is illuminated by dim red lights from flickering flames or glowing diabolic symbols. The doors are all stone bound in iron, and many are locked. As a side effect of pervasive diabolic influence, all doors flicker briefly with fire around their edges when opened or closed, making sneaking in the prison level difficult. A hero trained in religion can utter a brief incantation which requires no action when opening a door to prevent this effect. Area G1, Lower Shaft. The spiral staircase bottoms at a circular chamber's redstone floor. 4 wide passages lead away in opposite directions, 3 of them ending at a door. The west passage features the most impressive of these doors, which are 15 feet high and inscribed with a blazing pentagram. The southwest stairway ascends from this room and appears choked with boulders, rubble and dust. This chamber provides easy access to the prison's cell blocks. Most doors leading from this room are unlocked and opened easily, except for 2 described in their respective locations. The secret door to Area G2 is both hidden and locked, and the pentagram-inscribed doors to Area G10 are magically sealed. The stairs leading downward connect to Area H1, 100 feet below. The currently impassable stairs take at least a week of labour to clear. This level's denizens likely won't give the heroes this time without harrying them, so they can't effectively clear away the rubble while the devils and other hostile creatures remain. Urevain agrees to clear the way for the heroes if they negotiate with him, as described in Area G10. An eye on the shaft. This room doesn't have any guards, but the Barbazu drilling the units of Grothluts here in Area G3 to the north likely sees anyone entering it. That Barbazu exhorts his soldiers to attack. Area G2, Level 7 Portal Chamber. A hero who succeeds at a DC 25 perception check spots the secret door to this room. Pressing a particular stone above the door causes it to rotate inward, but only an inch or so, just enough to reveal a combination lock made of metal cylinders. The combination is long lost, but a hero can open the door with a successful DC 25 athletics check to force it open, or 4 successful DC 25 thievery checks to pick the lock. A hero who's a master in thievery recognizes the tumblers as the lock's most vulnerable part, and can open it with a single successful DC 20 thievery check. This room's floor gleams under a thin layer of dust. Runes filled with silver inlay have been carved into the walls. This room contains an inert teleportation circle like the ones elsewhere in the Abomination Vaults, Area B17. This teleportation circle must be reactivated with the Awakened Portal ritual. Experience Award. Award heroes 30 experience points for activating this portal. Area G3. The Drill Field, a moderate level 7 encounter. This chamber's well-worn floor attests to its constant use. The walls angle up to the ceiling 20 feet overhead. The northern wall has a mineshaft elevator, but a wall of shimmering orange energy blocks the passage leading onto it. Belcora welcomes her guests from the Darklands here before leading them upstairs for entertainment and refreshments. The chamber's opulence has diminished over time. Centuries of military drills, sparring and other abuses have damaged the walls, which are splattered with blood and ichor. Urevain pulled in favours from Infernal contracts to create a permanent glowing wall of force that blocks the elevator shaft and sheds dim light throughout the chamber. He has no personal control over the wall. It's tied to the essence of Urevain's contract. It disappears immediately, only when Urevain's contract with Belcora is fulfilled, or if he's slain. Details about concluding the deal are presented in Area G10. The elevator descends 100 feet to Area H17. Its function is described there, as it's in the lower position. Creatures. Jafaki doesn't pay much attention to the many Gothluts whom the Devils defeated, assuming the Devils slew them all. In truth, Urevain's forces have trained the Gothluts to fight on their side, against their creators. As Gothluts are mindless creatures, training them is an exceptionally slow process, but the Devils have a lot of time on their hands. A Barbazu is currently drilling 6 Gothluts here. He uses magical braces to encourage compliance, and the Gothluts follow his orders. The Devil is immune to the Gothluts' piteous moaning. These troops attack as soon as they see intruders, which likely occurs when the heroes arrive in Area G1. Area G4. Storage Cells. A low level 7 encounter. These rooms stem off a long hallway and obviously functioned as prison cells, but the doors stand open. The cells contain stacks of crates, barrels, and quivers full of arrows. These former prison cells hold barrels of pitch, jugs of lantern oil, fuse cord, flint, and steel, and hundreds of arrows, sufficient supplies to destroy a small village. Only one cell door is locked, the isolation cell to the west in Area G4A. The Z-Bub in this hall holds the key. The door can be opened by a hero who succeeds at 3 DC 20 thievery checks to pick a lock, or a DC 25 athletics check to force it open. Creatures. A Z-Bub named Asvalvagander is responsible for itemizing this equipment, which Urevain intends to use against Atari. The fussy Z-Bub is checking the inventory twice over, doing so again to ensure she didn't make any mistakes. 4 Dreshkans help her with brute labour and defence. Treasure. The locked storage room contains valuable destructive equipment stored for the inevitable assault on Atari. A standard explosive arrow, 3 third-level spellstrike arrows, 3 young red dragon's breath potions, and 10 moderate alchemist fires. Area G5. Hellforge. A moderate level 7 encounter. This chamber's walls are charred black. Chains hang from the 20-foot tall ceiling, suspending shelves holding tools and metal ingots. A forge fills an alcove in the north wall. Its mouth yawns open, filled with jagged teeth like those of a great beast, and a blazing fire roars inside. Between the beast's forge horns, a hole in the ceiling captures the smoke belching from its nostrils. An anvil rests near the forge. The west wall has a trough of sooty water pushed up against it, and a weapons rack flanks the double doors on the south wall. This room once served as a torture chamber, but Urevain repurposed it for a more efficient use, creating weapons for his inevitable assault on the surface. The tiny ventilation shaft extends upwards hundreds of feet before ending in a large empty chamber in the earth where the smoke is trapped until it settles. Creatures. Urevain assigned forge duty to an Erinese named Barracks, a skilled smith who bristles at having to produce mundane weapons. He derives more pride from the lengthy and laborious process of creating Hellforged weapons, so his overall productivity over the centuries has been relatively modest. The devils realize that the heroes must have defeated Asvalvigander and her bodyguards to get here, and they're openly appreciative of the exacting Zibub's demise. They still attack the heroes, however. Barracks fights with his fiery forge hammers. He has the Flames of Fury ability common to Erinese, so any weapon he holds gains the effect of a flaming rune. The Barbazu uses a magical Hellforge glaive, making its damage considerably greater than that of a typical Barbazu. The devils fight to the death. The Hellforge. The heroes lack the skill to use the evil Hellforge as anything but an ordinary forge. They can certainly destroy it. A hero who succeeds at a DC 22 crafting or religion check to recall knowledge remembers that even a small amount of holy water splattered on the Infernal Forge can destroy it. On a critical success, the hero also remembers that doing so releases a blast of energy. If the heroes splatter the Hellforge with holy water, it cracks down the middle with a mighty groan. It deals 4d6 sonic damage and 4d6 evil damage, with a DC 23 basic fortitude save to creatures in the room. Treasure. Special metals Barracks hasn't gotten around to forging are stacked neatly near the anvil. 5 cold iron chunks worth 10 gold pieces each, 2 silver chunks worth 10 gold pieces each, and an adamantine chunk worth 500 gold pieces. Experience Award. Award the heroes 30 experience for destroying the Hellforge. Area G6. Guard Chamber. A moderate level 7 encounter. This plain stone chamber has 2 double doors, one on the north wall and a second on the south wall. Tiny carvings cover the east and west walls. The Guardian here made these carvings to pass the time. Each carving represents a nonsense metaphysical question in Infernal, such as, "Who are you if you are no one?" and "When your soul is consumed, do you consume yourself?" The creature likes to pose these types of questions during their interrogations, to make victims puzzle over them in search of deeper meanings and feel foolish upon failing to find any. Creature. A bone devil named Urevain stands watch here at Urevain's command. Unhappy with serving as a mere guard, yet bound by the contractual terms of their service, Urevain treats their charge very literally. They never warn the Erinese in the summoning chamber of any trouble and don't leave this room no matter what they hear elsewhere, unless they're personally under attack. If given the chance to talk, Urevain freely explains their role and offers some of their nonsense meditations. The devil uses the time the heroes spend contemplating to ask questions using their Stygian Inquisitor ability. Urevain quickly loses patience, however, and insists the heroes must leave or risk their wrath. If combat begins, the Bone Devil fights to the death. Area G7. Summoning Chamber. A severe level 7 encounter. A stairway at the room's south end leads north to a platform overlooking a cylindrical chamber. Half-melted candles cover a stone altar perched on this platform's edge. Above the altar, water slowly drips from a crack in the ceiling and onto the platform, the droplets rapidly evaporating in the stifling heat. 6 heavy chains suspend a wide metal disc above a magma pool that illuminates the chamber with an orange glow. A fiery pentagram features visibly atop the disc. Belcora had geomancers divert a natural magma flow to pool here. She then commissioned the creation of a ritual altar and the summoning circle atop the disc. Belcora summoned several fiends in this chamber, binding each to her service. The greatest of these was Urevain, as her contract with him gave her access to all devils who serve Urevain as well. The ceiling is 20 feet tall at the doors of this room. As the stairs descend to the platform, the ceiling stays the same height, so it's 25 feet above the platform. The disc is at the same level as the platform, but the 15-foot gap over the magma makes it daunting to reach. The air in this chamber is magically cooled only to severe heat, dealing 1d6 fire damage every round. The 10-foot deep magma pool presents a greater danger. Immersion in the magma deals 20d6 fire damage each round. A hero who succeeds at a DC 23 crafting or religion check realizes that the magma's heat powers the summoning circle. The cracked ceiling. A character who succeeds at a DC 23 nature check or a related law check such as mining law recognizes that the crack in the ceiling allows water to drip down from the underground lake directly above, in area F4. If the heroes widen this crack, a task requiring appropriate tools, the ability to reach the ceiling, and several hours of chipping away the stone, the drip becomes a trickle, then a flood. The rush of water fills the room with steam and cools the magma to stone over a few hours. The heroes also know that cooling the magma destroys the summoning circle. Creatures. Twin Erinny sisters are trying to convert the summoning circle into a permanent gate to hell. Concerned more with the theory of extraplanar portals than the application, the sisters spend a lot of time discussing their work, but haven't done much to exact it. Furious at interruptions to their discourse, they most likely attack intruders. However, if they think a hero shares their interest, such as if they see a hero summon a creature into a fight, they can offer to cease combat to discuss the finer points of extraplanar lore. When they've learned all they think they can, the Erinnies attempt to murder the rival scholar. Area G8. Isolation Chamber, a severe level 7 encounter. The door to this cell has a note affixed over a small sliding grate at eye level, written by the imp Zek in Common, Undercommon and Infernal. The note reads,
"Do not disturb if you value your limbs."
The walls and floor of this chamber are covered in short spikes just long enough to cause discomfort to anyone standing, sitting or leaning on them. Once a chamber to detain particularly headstrong or troublesome prisoners, this room has seen very little use until recently. This isolation chamber no longer has a lock, so the door closes but doesn't latch. Anyone moving the note and sliding the grate aside to look in the cell sees its gug occupant meditating. If she succeeds at a DC 30 perception check when the grate slides aside, she awakens from her meditation. Creature. Belcora recently sent a gug named Ular to check on Urevain's progress. Ular's unexpected and unwelcome arrival was one of the intrusions that convinced Urevain to finally block access to the lower levels. Urevain has put off talking to Ular because he doesn't really want to renew or revisit his deal with Belcora. Ular has grown tired of speaking to Urevain's underlings and demanded to have her next conversation with Urevain himself. If the heroes disturb the gug, she mistakes them for yet more lackeys and reacts with sudden and startling violence. She allows foes who flee to retreat, but she otherwise fights to the death. Area G9. Observation Room. This tall chamber reaches a height of 30 feet. Transparent stone makes up the southern wall, which looks into a vast room filled with square, transparent pillars, surrounded by a catwalk. A jumble of metal scrap lies against this transparent wall. While transparent from this side, the southern wall appears opaque from the other side. Strategists could look out over the Stasis Chamber to the south to select creatures to transport with the Gauntlet. The metal scrap used to be a high catwalk, but the gug in Area G8 wrecked it in a fury when Urevain sent a Barbazu to provide a summary report rather than personally meeting with her. Creature. An imp named Zek flutters near the ceiling, holding a small notebook and a charcoal pencil. She records observations about the various prisoners, with recommendations on how to use them in the upcoming invasion of Atari. Sample entries include:
Gibbering mouther. Ground manipulation could destable or destroy bridges, such as the tavern bridge near the river mouth.
When Zek detects the heroes, she casts invisibility and attempts to parley rather than fight.
Close the door, close the door. I don't want to get caught talking with you. You'll get us all tortured. So, surface dwellers, eh? Glad to see you. You're taking down Urevain, right? Nasty devil. Bad business keeping him around. Yep. How about we leave each other alone and pretend we never saw each other?
Although perfectly happy if the heroes leave, Zek will speak with them if broached. Her starting attitude is indifferent, and she remains invisible until the heroes change her attitude to friendly, which requires a character to succeed at a DC 17 diplomacy check to make an impression. Against Zek's will DC, Zek tires of running menial errands for Urevain. She's looking for someone more pliable to serve, and hopes to enter into a devil's luck infernal contract with someone. If the heroes improve her attitude, she not only offers this contract, but answers question as best she can, whether or not they take the contract. What Zek knows? Zek knows that Urevain has some sort of arrangement with Belcora, but he wants to get out of it, even if it means making a deal to undercut Belcora's efforts. She suggests talking to Urevain to find out more, but she knows they'll need 5 parts of a pentagram amulet to open the door to Area G10. If asked about the pieces' locations, she speculates that the fragments could be held by the slug Lagan sent to sabotage the laboratories level in Area F5. As Valvigander the Quartermaster in Area G4, Barkumbuk the Smith in Area G5, Ayagan the Guard in Area G6, they don't have one, the Gate Forgers in Area G7, or the strange motley man who Zek sees sometimes, but who terrifies her. She refers to Yasondaclear in Area G18. Zek knows that Urevain got tired of visitors from the lower levels and blocked one route with magic, and the other route by simply stuffing it full of rubble. She's certain he could open either easily. If asked about the higher levels, Zek gleefully admits to participating in a big fight between Urevain and the worm monsters a long time ago. She locked a powerful wizard in his room with just a few pittance, and still takes pride in the act. The wizard, Chafkem, in Area E17, would be keen to learn that Zek is the one who imprisoned him. As far as the prison level's layout, Zek has limited information. She knows only about areas G1 through G16, although she's aware of an angry green spirit in Area G17. She has a rough idea of each room's forces, but she doesn't know anything about the traps in areas G11 or G16. In fact, she believes Area G16 is haunted. Area G10, Urevain's domain, a severe level 7 encounter. The huge doors to this room are magically sealed and emblazoned with an enormous glowing pentagram. The pentagram's center has a circular indentation about the size of a human hand, with 5 deeper indentations. The heroes can discern that some device, like an amulet, fits into the indentation. Urevain's pendant opens the door, but it's currently split into 5 fragments held by his lieutenants. A devil who casts Dimension Door while touching even a single fragment to the door can teleport to the other side. To open the door, other creatures must reassemble all 5 fragments and touch the pendant to the indentation. After doing so, the door effectively stays open for good. Urevain can enact a year-long ritual to recreate the door and the pendant, but he likely won't do so. Urevain doesn't realize it, but a clever user can open the door only with 4 pendant fragments by touching them to the door and succeeding at a DC 25 religion check to mimic the unholy energies of the missing fragment. A creature who fails at this check takes 4d12 fire damage and is stupefied 1 for 1 hour, with 8d12 fire damage and stupefied 3 for 1 hour on a critical failure. The 5 pieces are in areas F5, G4, G5, G7, and G18. A large chamber of natural stone runs north to south with an enormous stone double door as its only exit. Lit braziers cast strange shadows on the wall and bathe the room in a sinister light. Bookshelves and a sturdy desk, accompanied by neat rolled up scrolls and stacks of parchment, fill an alcove to the north. Urevain made this room his home, sealed off from the rest of the dungeon so he can work in peace. He fashioned the door for himself, but he had to manufacture a magical pendant for Belcora so she could bypass it. Shortly before Belcora's death, Urevain had the imp Zek steal the pendant back. Urevain broke it into 5 pieces, giving one to each of his lieutenants. His trusted devils can come and go as they please, but even they know not to bother Urevain barring official business. The desk contains reports, inventories, and maps that depict the surface world, Gauntlet, and the surrounding Darklands. Of particular note to the heroes are complete maps of the 5th, 6th, and 7th levels of the Abomination Vaults, including all secret doors on those levels. The characters can also find copies of several Infernal contracts, the originals of which are safely stored in Hell's vaults. A character who investigates the desk and succeeds at a DC 23 society or legal law check realizes that Urevain has kept tabs on Volrajani's line for generations. Creatures. The Fistophilus Urevain spends most of his time revising attack plans based on numerous contingencies. He keeps 2 Barbazu bodyguards nearby at all times to intercept reports from his lieutenant, and to keep him from being disturbed. When the heroes open the doors, the Barbazus spring forward, but Urevain stops them and warmly greets the heroes. A ruggedly handsome devil steps forward, as a long roll of parchment hanging from his horns curls up, then unrolls again. Friends, friends, weapons away. Truly, I am happy to see you. The devil turns to the 2 bearded devil bodyguards, their glaives raised. Stand down, you 2. I doubt they are arrogant enough to fight us. I am Urevain, Fistophilus and contract agent of Belcora. But I assure you, I am no enemy of yours. You seek to vanquish her, put an end to her murderous spirit, the threat she poses to all mortal life, etc., etc. Then perhaps we can broker a deal, one that greatly benefits both of us, with a minimal number of precious lives lost. If the heroes already encountered Zek and made an agreement with her, which Urevain doesn't really mind, he adds, "You've already struck a bargain with Zek, so I know it is not a matter of if, but of what price. Trust me when I say, I'm offering you an excellent deal." For this conversation, refer to the following list of likely questions and Urevain's responses. Who are you? I am Urevain, a contract devil of some renown, if I do say so myself. What do you want from us? Simply put, you are the third-party agents I need to get out of this dreadful place and return home. You see, there is something I want, but I am not allowed to go and get it myself, nor can I employ any infernal agents to retrieve it. No, the hands of a mortal foe of Belcora must deliver me my prize. My devils are valueless in this regard, as are my flesh-warped soldiers. Why does it have to be a mortal foe of Belcora? That is the delight of legalistic contract interpretation. It cannot be me, any of my minions, or any ally of Belcora. The contract was written with the intent that Belcora alone could give me the prize as my payment, which, of course, she will not until I have given her the full measure of service the contract requires. However, a very technical reading means that any of her foes can also provide it, and you have thus far conclusively demonstrated that you oppose her. What is it that you want? I require the soul of Carman Rajani, in his living body if possible, though I can make do should he perish. What do you want with Carman's soul? I owe the soul of a Rajani to someone much more powerful than myself. It would be unwise for me to leave the material plane without it. Carman is the last descendant of Vol Rajani. What will this powerful someone do with Carman's soul? I do not know. My contract merely stipulated to turn it over. Just arranging the deal proved considerably costly, but I stand to gain quite a bit of prestige in Hell if it is completed. What do we do if he died? I know a ritual that can summon his spirit out of the River of Souls and back to the place where he died. There it can be captured. If you sign an agreement with me, I shall teach it to you. We can't give you someone's soul. That's evil. Is it? I say it is the lesser evil to turn over the soul of one corrupted individual than to allow an entire town's destruction. Far less bloodshed on all sides. I do not want to raise Atari, and I don't want to kill you. However, the contract I have with Belcora requires that as long as I remain within her employ, I must pursue the dominion of the surface world and the destruction of her enemies. Once my contract ends, so does my obligation to her. All I need is the soul of Carman Rajani to fulfill the contract. How's Carman Rajani corrupted? Oh, that bastard of a man. His soul is already damned for lying, cheating, theft, vandalism, destruction of property, arson, abuse of power, blackmail, and even murder. It is quite clear where he shall go in the afterlife. You would simply cut out the bureaucracy by giving him to me directly. If we hand over Carman, he'll never have a chance at redemption. Do you honestly believe that? Just recently he burned a library and stole a historical relic in some misguided ploy to win a political office, which he would just use to further abuse his power and increase his wealth. If I did not need his soul for this specific purpose, I would hire him. What do we get out of this arrangement? Peace for Atari. I will leave, taking all of my devils with me, and when I go, the barrier preventing you from getting to the lower level will disappear. If you would like, I can direct my flesh warp minions to clear away the blocked staircase, giving you a second way down. I can even broker further arrangements between you and my devils. What further agreements? Urevain can arrange for infernal contracts with any of his surviving Barbazu, the Pact of Blood-Taking, or Erinyes, the Right of Retribution. As Urevain drafts these agreements on his devil's behalf, skill checks to interpret the contracts use a DC of 33, Urevain's legal law DC, rather than the contract item's levels. We've already defeated your devils. You have nothing to invade with. But I can conscript more after I kill you. The inconvenience is at best temporary. We'll never make an agreement with you. Are you sure about that? Consider carefully. Turning down my offer most likely means your death. Urevain gestures meaningfully to his Barbazu bodyguards. If the heroes take Urevain's offer, he uses his draft contract ability to summon a contract for them to sign in blood. Urevain drafts an honest offer. Upon his receipt of Carman Rajani or his soul from the heroes, he will leave the material plane along with all his devils remaining in the Abomination Vaults. His departure will immediately remove the barrier in Area G3. Before leaving, he will, if the heroes wish, order any flesh warps to clear the staircase leading down from Area G1. His departure otherwise doesn't affect the flesh warps or other creatures in the prison, leaving the heroes to deal with them. Heroes who sign are compelled to work towards delivering Carman to Urevain, as from a Geas ritual. If the heroes ultimately decline Urevain's offer, he sighs with disappointment before saying, "What more should I have expected from mortals?" He then orders his Barbazu to attack. He casts Flame Strike before entering into melee with his Diabolic Quill. Convinced the heroes are mere mortals who can't overcome Diabolic soldiers in combat, the Barbazus fight to the death. The more injured Urevain becomes, the more he tries to convince the heroes to accept his deal. However, Urevain breaks off combat only if the heroes agree to accept his terms. If he's slain, the magical barrier in Area G3 vanishes, though the stairs remain blocked. A side note on returning to Otari and asking advice. Your players might not spend a lot of time heavily considering the moral question of whether to turn over Carman Rajani to Urevain, but perhaps they thoughtfully debate the issue or even seek other opinions. Non-player characters in Atari are split over the matter. Vandy Banderdash thinks it's wrong to bargain with a devil using another person's soul. She believes that everyone deserves a chance at redemption, even Carman. However, she holds a particular contempt for thieves, as she's never recovered from the betrayal of her sister stealing from her years ago. She doesn't push the heroes if they disagree with her. Rin Savinzi also opposes the deal, as she finds limiting the soul's freedom to be abhorrent. Captain Longsaddle happily releases Carman to the heroes so they can turn him over to the devil. He considers this choice a straightforward way to eliminate a serious threat to his town. For once, Yin Yasmira agrees with the guard captain. She's had so many past problems with Carman that she'd also like to see him gone, especially knowing that doing so would save the town. Mayor Osif Menhims doesn't take a position, but backs whatever choice the heroes make, especially if they've been helping his daughter. The mayor believes the heroes are capable and trustworthy decision makers. If his opinion serves as a tiebreaker, he leans towards showing Carman mercy. Morlabent doesn't offer a direct opinion, but recommends several stories about dealing with devils, virtually all of which turn out very poorly for the mortals involved. Recovering Carman. How easily the heroes can recover Carman depends on his fate in Chapter 5. If they release him, the heroes likely find him still brooding in the smuggler's refuge, as he hasn't yet summoned the courage to depart. He certainly won't go with the heroes willingly if they explain what they want with him, but the heroes could trick him. If Carman knows what he's in for, he does his best to flee the area, and the heroes probably have to work with Urevain to scry his new location, which the contract devil certainly makes them pay for, one way or another. If Carman is in jail, the heroes can simply fetch him from custody. Longsaddle doesn't mind turning him over to the heroes, as they captured him in the first place. If they're upfront about why they want Carman, he's surprisingly agreeable to turning over the scoundrel to the devil. If Carman is dead, the heroes must go to the place of his death to trap his spirit. Urevain explains that the heroes must perform the Call Spirit ritual, which he can teach them, while holding a specially prepared gemstone that he also provides. The heroes are responsible for performing the ritual and paying its cost. If they call Carman's spirit, it automatically is drawn into the gemstone. Delivery. If the heroes bring Carman Rajani to Urevain alive, or give him a soul gem with Carman's soul inside, Urevain flicks a hand towards his desk. All the contents magically pack themselves into smaller and smaller boxes, eventually into a single valise that one of the Barbazus picks up. The other Barbazu takes Carman or the gem with a firm grip, and both Barbazus disappear. "It was a pleasure doing business with you," says Urevain. "I will look you up again, perhaps in a few years or decades. And if you have died in that time, well, I can come find you anyway. You are so delightfully useful. I shall be in touch." Experience Award. Award the heroes 120 experience if they make a deal with Urevain and get the devil to depart. Area G11, Nexus, a low level 7 encounter. This chamber forms a large octagonal pyramid and has 4 exits on opposite walls. Bright blood red light shines down from the top of the pyramid in a perfect circle on the floor. Hazard. Urevain constructed a magical trap here to capture invaders and summon reinforcements. A paralyzing light trap is a hazard 8 trap. When any creature other than a devil enters the light, the magic interwoven in the light holds the creature in place and rings an alarm. Reinforcements. When the alarm goes off in Area G15, half of the enemies in the Barracks, 1 Molventok and 1 Dreshkan, make their way here immediately. If they don't come back in 3 rounds, the other 2 flesh warps in Area G15 realizes something must be wrong and comes to provide help as well. Area G12, Arena Walk, a low level 7 encounter. A long hallway stretching north to south ends in a staircase at the southern end that branches left and right. The north and east walls each have doors with small sliding windows. A raised portcullis at the northeastern end here has metal points crusted with dried blood. Not all combatants in Belcora's arena participated willingly. Prisoners intended for gladiatorial games were kept here briefly before being sent upstairs to meet their fate. The sliding windows allow the heroes to peek into the cells. The stairs lead up to Area F10. Creatures. 2 will-o-wisps patrol this corridor, killing whatever unfriendly creatures they find. They spontaneously appeared in the Abomination Vaults decades ago and drifted to this level. When the devils assumed they served Belcora, the wisps simply agreed, even though they've never met her. Urevain assigned the creatures to keep watch here. They also suggested subjecting the flesh warp in Area F10 to the slow curse, as it lets them sup on the creature's fear as often as they'd like. The will-o-wisps fight intruders tenaciously to maintain their favoured position. If one is destroyed, the other attempts to flee to Area G15 and warn the creatures there. Area G13, Empty Cell. Dust and cobwebs cover this forgotten cell. The heroes find its door unlocked. Since the heroes never check it, this cell makes for a safe, if cramped, place to rest. Area G14, Imprisoned Bounty Hunter. Most of this cell has received very little care in the past several decades, but the manacles on the wall appear carefully polished. The devils have recently put this cell back into service. A tiefling bounty hunter named Synemi hangs upside down, her ankles bound by manacles. She looks clearly weakened from ill treatment and neglect. Through infernal contracts, Synemi learned that a contract devil named Urevain had offered a high bounty for a specific target. Synemi made her way here and agreed to retrieve Carman Rajani for a healthy sum. However, Carman proved too cunning, hustling Synemi out of her magic armor and leaving her stranded on a leaky boat on the inner sea. By the time Synemi swam back to shore, the time she negotiated with Urevain to catch Carman had run out, so an Irenes dragged her back. She has been here since, fed only irregularly and often hung by her feet. She suspects that she has spent months or even years imprisoned. Her manacles open easily, but Synemi can't reach them. If you need Synemi's stats, use those of a bounty hunter, except Synemi is neutral evil and has dark vision. Side quest. Synemi requires urgent care, as she's on the verge of death from dehydration. A hero must succeed at a DC 23 medicine check while providing water and food to Synemi to save her. On a critical failure, the bounty hunter dies. Even if saved, she stays distant and suspicious. Her starting attitude is unfriendly. If the heroes can improve Synemi's attitude to at least indifferent, usually a hero must succeed at a DC 22 diplomacy check to make an impression, although you may allow other skills at this DC to get Synemi to open up. She shares her story. She emphasizes how urgently Urevain wants to capture Carman Rajani, and that the contract devil is willing to cut a deal for just about anything to get him. Regardless of her attitude towards the heroes, Synemi wants the heroes to help free her and to get her far away from here. Synemi is a criminal wanted by Absalom authorities. A hero who succeeds on a DC 23 society check recalls seeing a wanted poster for her. Heroes from Absalom gain a +2 circumstance bonus to this check. Of course, Synemi doesn't volunteer this information. Getting Synemi out of the Abomination Vaults, whether or not the heroes place her in their custody, completes this side quest. Treasure. If the heroes turn Synemi over to Atari's garrison, they earn 30 gold pieces as a reward. If they have Atari's garrison support, Captain Longsaddle gives them an additional 30 gold pieces. Area G15, Barracks, a severe level 7 encounter. This old prison block has been converted into a makeshift barracks, with several shoddy cots pushed into the cells against the walls. 3 cell doors have been chained open. Footlockers sit near each cot. Creatures. When not drilling with the Barbazu or performing other menial tasks, the Devil's Flesh Warp soldiers relax here. They fight to the death. Treasure. The 7 meager footlockers hold almost nothing of value. Each footlocker contains 3d6 silver pieces. Area G16, Prison Office. This old prison office is full of filth and cobwebs. A single door exits to the north. A hero can locate the secret door in this room by succeeding at a DC 28 perception check while searching. If the heroes clean the dust and cobwebs from this room first, the DC drops to 24. Tiny cracks form in the subtle shape of a manacle and chain on the wall. The space between the chain links are buttons that, when pressed, cause the secret door to slide open. Beyond the secret door, a narrow hallway has several peepholes filled with one-way transparent stone for spying on prisoners, along with a door to Area G21. Characters can clearly see the secret doors leading out of this hidden hall to areas G16 and G18. Yason Kalir doesn't like the fact that a secret tunnel leads directly to his suite of rooms, so he installed a trap to keep away any nosy creatures. He pressed Urevain to help with the ruse, so the devil had the Irenes start a rumour about the prison office being haunted. Virtually all other creatures on the prison level believe this rumour, especially the flesh warps who bunk just outside the room, which has given Yason Kalir the peace he deserves. Hazard. The magical trap in the room triggers when anyone steps inside. Painful Suggestion Trap, a level 8 hazard. A hidden rune on the floor under the filth, just past the threshold, triggers an Azat's ghost. Area G17, Stasis Chamber, a moderate level 7 encounter. 15 transparent pillars fill the center of this 30-foot high room. A bright light shines down the center of each chamber. A catwalk 10 feet above the ground circles around the edge of the room without a handrail or banister. At the western side, each stops at a staircase leading down. Belcora kept dangerous creatures in this room prior to teleporting them via the Gauntlight's beam. Each cell is a 10-foot square, 20 feet tall, made of transparent stone. Each creature stands motionless in its own column, held in suspended animation outside the flow of time. The creatures haven't aged and ignore any effects from the normal time stream, as long as they stay imprisoned within their stasis chambers. However, such effects can work on the pillars, which are made of transparent, magically enhanced stone with a hardness of 18 and hit points of 76. 10 pillars are occupied. 9 contain living creatures. A Chul, a Dryder, 3 Gonhatines, a Gibbering Mouther, a Gibtanus, and 2 Gugs. 1 contains a dead Gogateth because of a flaw in its chamber's magic. If a hero breaks the pillar around one of the creatures, roll a DC 3 flat check. On a success, the collapsing stasis messily kills it. On a failure, the creature returns to normal time and attacks anything in sight until destroyed. High-level monsters such as the Gonhatines pose a serious danger even for 7th level characters. Of the 5 empty stasis chambers, 2 are noteworthy. The northwest chamber appears badly blackened, as though from soot on the inside. After the error with the Gogateth, Belcora appointed a hag to oversee this room, knowing that her magical expertise would prove invaluable in maintaining the stasis chambers. But she didn't intend the hag to do this job in life. Belcora trapped the hag in this pillar, burned her to death, and bound her spirit as a witchfire. A creature entering a square adjacent to this blackened pillar receives a brief telepathic flash of Belcora burning the hag alive, and gains a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against the witchfire's spells and abilities for 1 minute. A creature adjacent to that pillar can also make out objects inside it. The pillar must be smashed open to retrieve them. The second unusual stasis chamber in the southwest looks like the other empty chambers. However, its top and floor are both illusions. An open area below the chamber's floor leads to a 5-foot wide crawl space to an open trapdoor in area G21. The wisp in area G21 comes and goes this way while invisible. Creature. The witchfire still guards this room. 3 rounds after anyone enters, she materializes and attacks. Creatures who must pass through this room regularly, such as the denizens of Leng Ysondaclear or the Zebubs who report to him, do so quickly. Urevain has tried to make deals with the witchfire time and time again, but the witchfire simply won't listen to him. He knows that the creatures in stasis are valuable for his invasion plans, so he has postponed his invasion until he figures out how to reliably free them. Treasure. The soot-blackened pillar still contains a few items left behind when the hag died. Type 1 braces of armor and a Type 2 bag of holding containing a dozen cheap broken clocks. Area G18. War Room, a moderate level 7 encounter. This small chamber features a large map of the inner sea painted on the north wall, though the listed countries seem long out of date. A large cushion rests in the room's southwest corner. On the west wall, overlapping scraps of paper create a much newer map of the town of Atari and the area around it. This chamber has seen little use as a war room and has been repurposed for its current inhabitants' personal agenda, as evidenced by the out-of-date maps on the north wall, but the much more focused and updated map of Atari on the west wall. The paper map conceals a secret doorway to a hall that connects areas G16 and G21. A hero searching this room locates the secret door with a successful DC 28 perception check. If the heroes remove the papers, this DC drops to 24. This secret door opens the same way as the one in area G16. The secret door leading out of this hidden hallway to areas G16 and G18 are obvious from within it. Creature. Belcora appointed the ageless and mysterious denizen of Leng, named Ysondaclear, as her chief strategist. After Belcora died, Ysondaclear lost interest in planning troop movements, though he convinced Urevain that he was still doing so, and that he would have plans ready by the time the devil chose to march on the surface. Ysondaclear insisted that Urevain's Zebubs kept scouting the surface and report back to him, which has allowed the denizen to make the exceptionally detailed map found here. Instead of planning troop movements, Ysondaclear seeks powerful latent psychics whom he can torment and, by means of eldritch invocations, send psychically into the dimension of dreams so that other denizens of Leng can make use of them. He has had little success in the past 5 centuries. Not only is true psychic potential very rare, but Ysondaclear is likely to drive his victims to insanity as to successfully send them to his extraplanar compatriots. He had most recently manipulated the addled Skulk Jedzeli in Area F12. Ysonk'Elir abandoned Jedzeli as a lost cause to prey upon Doriana Menhims instead, and his schemes with her are near completion. Ysonk'Elir likes to claim a hand from a creature he has corrupted. As he hasn't ever met Doriana in person, he instead stole a psychic imprint of her right hand and manifested into a massive gnarled claw. This giant crawling hand obeys Ysonk'Elir loyally and does its best to defend him. If the heroes simply barge in, Ysonk'Elir and the hand fight back. The hand tries to keep foes from reaching Ysonk'Elir, who retreats into the doorway of either adjacent room to keep out of melee range. He prefers spells that debilitate his foes, such as Hypnotic Pattern and Phantom Pain. If the heroes come to him with knowledge of Doriana, the denizen knows his latest plot has put him in significant jeopardy. He attempts to calm the heroes and convince them that he'll release Doriana from his clutches, an outright lie, if one of them willingly accepts his Lang Ruby. If the heroes fall for this ruse, he relocates to another part of the prison level, which you can determine. He continues to afflict Doriana and begins tormenting the hero that took his ruby as well. If Ysonk'Elir is slain, he eventually reforms in Lang and gives up his material plane plots, for now, restoring Doriana. Slaying Ysonk'Elir frees Doriana, as described previously. Destroying the giant crawling hand immediately restores Doriana's hand to normal. Area G19, Hand Collection. A small desk covered in the stubs of burnt candles stands against the east wall. The west wall has severed hands from more than a dozen creatures nailed to it, and displayed palm outwards. Ysonk'Elir performs his research in this room, but it primarily serves as his gruesome trophy hall. It bears the hands of creatures he has corrupted over the years, including Jedzeli's. He spends hours examining them, mesmerized by the intricate details upon each hand that tell an entire life story. Treasure. The desk drawer contains 2 scrolls of dream message. Area G20, Ritual Room. A filthy silk pillow rests at the center of this room, surrounded by several unlit candles. Several charcoal depictions drawn directly on the stone feature the same teenage girl. A small wooden box sits in the corner of the room with a few more candles inside. Ysonk'Elir performs his dream rituals here, using his magic to invade and twist Doriana Menhim's dreams. His drawings of her help him to focus on her mind. Treasure. The box contains several candles made of rare waxes, worth 50 gold pieces in total. Area G21, The Secret Void, a moderate level 7 encounter. The flat black walls of this chamber reflect an eerie emptiness. An open trapdoor against the east wall leads to a narrow crawl space. This chamber was built for a high priest of Nimbraloth to sleep and meditate in. The only entrances are concealed, and the room's black walls simulate the void of oblivion granted to those consumed by the empty death. Creature. Sakuishu, a will-o-wisp priest of Nimbraloth, occupies this chamber. She's a variant form of will-o-wisp, who has gained extra powers from her devotion to the empty death. Sakuishu was sent from the lower levels to check on the prison by Lady's Whisper, a patient and silent servitor of Nimbraloth, in Area I-61. While the Gug, Allura, who's angry, direct, and abrupt like Belcora, has mostly failed to get any answers from being sent to the prison level by the sorcerer, Sakuishu found more success in her delving. She has learned a great deal about the inhabitants of the middle and even upper levels of the Abomination Vaults, and she rests here between her invisible excursions. Sakuishu can't return, as Urevain blocked the ways down in Area G3, but she thinks it's just a matter of time until the way opens again. Because of her frequent wanderings, you can have Sakuishu encounter the heroes nearly anywhere. She attacks to learn their tactics and abilities, but retreats to this area when reduced to fewer than 40 hit points. While here, Sakuishu floats, very still, near the centre of the ceiling, washing the room in a pale glow and basking in the emptiness. The presence of outsiders in her secret room offends her. She immediately goes dark and casts darkness before attacking. If any of the heroes openly carry the tome the Whispering reads, Sakuishu is appalled that the sacred book has fallen into the hands of a non-believer and targets whoever carries it. If reduced to 20 or fewer hit points, Sakuishu casts Sanctuary and retreats to Area G3, hoping it has opened. If it's blocked, she makes her last stand there. Area G22, Magical Communicator. A bowl of filthy swamp water rests upon a crude altar. Priests once used this scrying bowl to communicate with Belcora before it became inactive upon her death. It regained a fraction of its power now that she's returned. The first creature to look into its waters sees Belcora's hateful visage glaring back. The creature takes 96 mental damage with a DC 33 basic will save. A creature that fails its save is also stupefied 1 for 1 minute. After this initial appearance, Belcora's image doesn't reappear, but she remembers the hero who called upon her in this way in future encounters. Treasure. The following items lie next to the bowl: a gallows tooth, a transparent elemental gem, and a grim trophy in the form of 7 ears impaled on a nail.